In the Autobahn series, Spa has been the scene of triumph, tragedy, and oddities. Anything that can happen here usually will. So for it to once again host the season finale, that puts our GTD Championship hopefuls on edge. Of the 3 drivers' titles to be claimed, that is the last to be decided. Will we experience another wild ending like last season? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 14 of the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth covering the prototype and GTLM classes is Bill Soup Zahn. Keeping us up on the GTD class is Adam Lindgren. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Adam, it's been a long and arduous season, but it all comes down to a period in the sentence here at Spa.
That it does, Joe. Eau Rouge, Raidillon, Pouhon, Blanchimont. These corner names are some of the most well-known in racing, and they all belong to the circuit de Spa-Francorchamps. Characterized by its 19 turns, 10 to the right and 9 to the left, this 7-kilometer or 4.35 miles circuit's most challenging aspect is its elevation. With 102 meters or 334 feet of elevation change over the course of the lap, the grade of the track surface plays a major factor in how you approach each corner. While the LMPs will be struggling for consistent braking through the extensive downhill of the second sector, both GT classes will be struggling with the high-speed corners, especially the Raidillon Eau Rouge complex. When it comes to multi-class action, the LMPs will have to be wary of gripless GTs around the fast bits, and the GTs will need to give a bit of their line on the straights for this partnership to work. As far as passing, there are many hard braking points around Spa, but you'll need to set up for your pass a couple of corners beforehand in order to get a run. Expect the draft of the Kemmel Straight and late dives into the chicane to be most frequent. But let's see how the ever-chaotic Spa is tackled as we take a ride around Spa in our GSRC lap guide.
All right, we're in the GSRC 4 GT, so let's do a lap around Spa. Coming down to La Source, this can be a good place to try and overtake, but it's very sharp in this corner. It makes the early laps when cars are bunched up a big risk to trip over each other. Plus, you might want to save your pass attempt until after this corner, because as we accelerate down the hill towards Eau Rouge, you're going to see a much better opportunity if you just show some patience. Though Eau Rouge and Raidillon are marginal in the GTE cars, it's still very high speed. Make sure not to get a cut course penalty as you come over the crest, and now we hit the Kemmel Straight. Overtaking is so much easier if you just blow by them on the straight with more momentum. Plus, you've got the heavy braking down into Lacombe to help you get the job done. You won't track out fully though, because Malbody comes right after the chicane, and you've got to hold left to give yourself a nice wide arc. This is the highest part of the circuit, and now we start heading back downhill with Rivage. Passes can sometimes happen into here, but it's terribly easy to outbrake yourself. Everyone's going to be fighting some understeer with its off-camber nature, but they've also got to get set up quickly for No Name. This deceptive bend catches people out frequently when the car snaps loose and they slap the barrier on the left. From here we approach Pouhon, which even with the paved runoff is kind of frightening. It's wicked fast, downhill, and has 2 apexes. Plus, if you lose it and have your car stop mid-corner, there's a good chance someone could plow into you. Finally, we're at the bottom of the valley. Vanier sees the occasional overtake, but it's really a medium-speed chicane, so outbraking your opponents is harder than you'd expect. It's also easy to get an off-track on the exit by getting on the power too soon. Immediately you come up to Stavelot. This first apex can be kind of important because you obviously don't want to find yourself in the gravel. But the second one is the one that leads onto the backstretch, where if you hesitate on the power, you'll be very, very vulnerable. Even though there's some curves, none of them require lifting, so you'll be straightening them out to keep from scrubbing off speed. The real trick will be nailing Blanchimont because you can't quite take it flat out. And it'll be dangerous to let the car straddle the curb of the AstroTurf to the outside, since it'll be easy to spin it. You've got no time to rest now because you're coming up quick to the bus stop. This is a very popular place for passes, but it's also super common to blow the corner completely and wind up in the runoff. Smart drivers will make sure and stay tight to the first apex and set up a good exit onto the pit straight. But hopefully, if you've kept it all together, you've now finished a lap around Spa. No matter how many times we see laps around here, I never tire of the scenery around Spa. Even though it's the virtual version, it's just as pretty. Now, Bill, I talked about it a little bit in the intro, and I guess things are a little bit simple, except for one class here at the final round.
It is and it isn't. Let's go ahead and start looking at the prototypes Jason Girard wrapped it up a couple of rounds ago. He took off last round. He's back today, and we'll talk a little bit more why that's important. Billy Smith is coming off 2 wins in a row. He looks comfortable in second, especially since John Ulmer has, while Smith won 2 in a row, Ulmer has been no-shows for 2 in a row, and I don't think the big cheese is here in Belgium today. Lee Peterson and Dean Moeller tied there for 4th, and you can see that they're close enough maybe to keep the pressure on Billy Smith, but we'll see if that plays out or not. Let's go down and take a look now at the GTDs. Now here you got McGarvey, which because of the contact that happened with Mike Young on the last lap, we think that McGarvey has this thing lapped up. I'm sorry, the GTLMs, I apologize. Mike Young, try as he might to close the gap on McGarvey, couldn't do it. Now William Laster picked up his first win last time out, and Olivier Ducat and Jason DeVries round out your top 5. Now DeVries is going to race today in the prototypes, so it's going to be fun to see what happens there. Let's go over to the one that really matters that Joe was talking about. This is Mike Majors. He's trying to win the championship. Major trying to win it without winning a race this time around. We got Kevin Santana, who's close enough that he's putting the pressure on Major. We figure a 6th place will lock it for Major. We'll give those numbers more details if that becomes a factor. Paul Silvanic has been really hot, but it's a little bit too little too late for him. Lionel Duprat and Shane Hunter rounding out the rest of that. Let's go to the team championship now. Now we have SRN Orange. We think they are safe up there as they have a considerable lead. We talked about why Girard wants to be here. Well, look at that. SRN Gray. Girard is part of that team along with Lasser. They hope to have 2 champions. You figure if you get 2 driver championships, you should probably do pretty well in the team points. They sit only a handful of points of Lamberti West, who still has a shot at, although Ulmer's not here today. TMC Crimson and SRN Black round out the overlay. That'll do it.
So really, a lot of eyes are going to be on that GTD class, and we'll try and keep you abreast of how that evolves and changes over this 90-minute race, which Adam is going to tell you a little bit more about for the finale.
Yeah, definitely. This is our finale, so round 14 of 14 rounds here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. We have 3 classes that are racing tonight, the prototypes, the GTLMs, and the GTDs, all of whom the cars you can see on your screen. They have open setups for this series, so the setup is going to be to the driver's liking or not, depending. They have 67% fuel limitation, though, so that does affect how your race strategy is going to play out. The race distance is 90 minutes for this race, so a longer one is going to be 2 stops at least for most of these classes, and then the incident cap there, 36, a little bit expanded for the longer distance, and then they also have no spare car tonight. So this is a very trying setup for these guys tonight.
And that expanded incident limit will be important because it's easy to rack them up around here. And drivers will have to watch out with how much they abuse the edges of the track. We're currently watching the qualifying for the prototypes, and Jason DeVries has come back to the prototypes with a lot of speed because he's got the provisional pole. And Girard is trying to chase him down for that. We've been needing somebody to try and lead Girard and give him a bit of a challenge up at the front in this season. Billy Smith usually is the one to do that, but he's got some ground to make up on Jason. But Bill, we've been watching the prototypes and the GTLMs, and the GTLMs have been a little bit quiet late in the season, so not a whole lot going on there. But last race, we saw the prototypes absolutely erupt at the start. The first half was just bonkers.
Yeah, we're racing like it was the last lap of the championship going on. It settled down a little bit. Of course, Girard missed that one, so he wasn't involved in it. You know, you talk about the prototypes, the drivers that keep an eye on. I'm looking at him. Joshua Wolf, who has little by little all season long been getting faster and faster. He sits in 4th. Now, granted, a couple big names are missing, but he's only about a half second behind DeVries. And at a lap at Spa here, which is a lap of, like, just to take over 2 minutes, being a half second back, not that bad.
We'll watch to see how this lap finishes out. He's gotten 1 on the board, and the last one he must have had an off somewhere. That's the other thing about these incident points here, Adam, is they got to make sure and keep it clean in qualifying, or else the lap just doesn't count.
Yeah, you can take a couple of incidents during the race and get away with it, but in qualifying, if you go off track at any point, and this track is extremely punishing with those off tracks, you're going to disqualify your time. So as we take a look at Mark Brilson coming up the line here, we'll see whether or not he's kept it clean, but it's really challenging to do around this track, Joe.
Wolf didn't get a clean lap last time by. Wilson, interestingly, has had every lap clean thus far. De Vries, our pole sitter, improves to 0.965. So he is now 0.3 ahead of Jason Girard. Jason's got some work to do, as De Vries looks like he is going to abandon the rest of his laps because, actually, no, he might be able to get back out for one more if he wants. He's got 4 minutes, but it takes a long time to get around here. But we haven't...
Joe, you were talking about incident points. I just wanted to talk about, you don't think it's really a factor, but last round it was a huge factor because Santana and Majors, who are battling for that championship, got into it and it played a factor, didn't it?
It did. It wound up that Santana had too many, and when Major got into the back of him on the very last lap of the race, well, Santana disappeared. That's what happens when you go over that limit. You are just gone from the track immediately. And it went from what would have been a minimal damage for him, at least even if he was passed, to suddenly now the situation we're talking about here, Adam. And, well, I guess let's try and give as easily as possible kind of for the audience to digest how these points work.
Yeah, definitely. It's so basically, Mike Major has a really good lead right now, so he only needs to finish 6th or better in order to win. That's our best calculation that we can make. But in order for Santana to win the championship, he either has to win with Mike Major getting 7th or worse, or he has to get 2nd with Mike Major getting 9th or worse. If he gets in 3rd, if Santana gets 3rd, he really doesn't have a mathematical chance of making it with the field size we have tonight. So Santana is going to have to get up there and fight for that win. Right now, he's sitting in P3 in the GTDs for where his starting position is, with Mike Major right ahead of him in P2. So that's going to make it very challenging for him to do. But if he's going to have to hope that Mike Major makes some mistakes here and that he can get up there and fight for the win.
You know, Majors hasn't won a race. He's been very consistent, but the consistency works both at the top and at the bottom. Because he's been so consistent, he has 16 what I like to call pocket points. Those are a drop race that he hasn't been able to score. So the worst thing that happens to him is he gets 16 points. So that's why it makes it so hard for Santana to get the championship, because even if disaster does strike Major, it doesn't hurt him all that much.
Just watch Jason Girard continue to try to chase down De Vries, who's gotten back out and will get at least one more time lapping if he comes back to the line. But Girard, this time across, had another off somewhere. So as he starts this lap, he should be able to get around before the checkered flag and start one more if this isn't quick enough. Let's not forget Billy Smith, who's won the last 2 rounds, Silverstone and Phillip Island. As he comes around and crosses the line, he sits in 3rd, and he improves to a 2:02.994. That's good enough for the front row.
And remember, even though Girard has locked up the Drivers' Championship, Smith races for Lamberti West, so points that he scores are important. Girard races for SR in Gray, and they're very close. They're only a handful of points apart between 2nd and 3rd.
One driver who's a little bit under the gun here in qualifying in the prototypes is Leif Peterson, who's down in 6th. He's been steadily improving his pace all season long. He's similar to Josh Wolf. What we've been seeing was definitely a back marker early on, and last week got a podium. Well, he's missed 3 of his 4 laps that he's put down in qualifying, so that 2:04.0 might not be representative. He might have something better in it, but he's got to stay within the boundaries.
Maybe a little bit of a left-handed compliment here, but Peterson is a better racer than he is qualifier.
And Wolf just crossed the line. Unfortunately, he did not have that lap count either. We're getting down to the final minute. I see Jason De Vries coming across. Let's see if he managed to stay on the track for this one. He did, but he did not improve. It's a 2:03.8 that time by.
So it looks to me, just looking at these guys' setups, that they're setting up this this prototype car to be quite loose. Most of the drivers who I'm seeing are struggling under the low-speed corners to keep the back end of the car underneath them. So that's going to be an interesting thing to watch as we go forward and those tires start to wear out a bit.
Meanwhile, Jason Girard, who we just saw cross the line, jumps up to the front row ahead of Billy Smith now. Those two having a bit of a back and forth but Smith cannot respond. He's taken off the track with only 13 seconds to go. We've got a few drivers trying to start their final run, including Leif Peterson here. But I want to see if he gets an actual time down. Oh, no, actually, he just missed. Oh, did he start this one?
No, he moved up to fourth. He was down in 6th, so he moved up, passed around Cancion and Wolf.
Well, I wasn't sure if he was starting another lap or not, and, well, it doesn't matter because he came to a halt. But, yeah, he jumped up to 4th.
He's happy with this time.
Dean Mole, who is in 7th position, similar situation, only has 1 lap down. Let's see if he gets a second one. He does, and it's an improvement, a 2:03.9. That only jumps him up 1 position into 6th.
Here's why that's important. Peterson and Mole are tied for 4th place at the point. So, I can tell you the story of this one. When 2 drivers are tied going into the last event, whoever finishes higher is going to be the finish ahead.
Well, there are bonus points.
Okay. All right.
I mean, it could wind up with a tie still. We'll see. We'll try and keep track of that as Jason Girard comes through Stavelo 1 and 2, or I guess they call it Curva Paul Frere now sometimes. I guess it's just Stavelo to me, just because it seems like a classic name. But he comes up towards Blanchimont. It's only he and Mark Wilson left out on the track. Jason should have time to try and improve and see if he can take the pole away from De Vries. And it is 2/1000ths of a second that he has to go quicker around here. Easier said than done as he comes out of the bus stop and up to the line. What's it going to be for Girard, our champion? Not an improvement, unfortunately. He will stay in 2nd. So looks like Wilson actually won't be able to count on this one as he came out of the pits just as the clock was starting. So unfortunately, this time is a no-go for him, regardless of him crossing the line right now. He will start from 9th place. A little more than 30 cars, or actually just around 30 cars that we should be seeing today. It gives us time to run through the grid for our finale here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge at Spa-Francorchamps. Our pole sitter in the prototypes is Jason De Vries after hopping over from the GTLMs just to have some fun out here today. And there's no championship up for grabs in that field, so he's not really interrupting anything. Jason Girard will be starting on his outside. Billy Smith manages to get 3rd today. In 4th place, we expected a little bit more out of qualifying with Leif Peterson, and he delivered with a 4th place on the outside of row 2. Robert Canchin will be starting in P5. That is actually a pretty good qualifying for Robert. Dean Mole starts in 6th. Josh Wolf unfortunately shoved down the order as qualifying went by and eventually settles into 7th place. Then you've got Sheldon Rosenbaum, who mysteriously exited out of last round. He'll start in 8th position. Mark Wilson will round out our prototype field of 9 cars.
Ryan Huff gets his first pole of the season in the GTLMs ahead of the class champion Stephen McGarvey. Olivier Turcotte will be 3rd. Fans of classic nostalgia video games will be happy because the Pac-Man is back. John Paquin is here today. He'll be starting 4th in class ahead of Joey Trungle. There are 2 other drivers in the class. Brendan Garcia and Travis Henderson did not put in qualifying times. Not sure if they're going to race.
Paul Slavonic is leading off our pole position for the GTDs with Mike Major starting in 2nd and Kevin Santana in 3rd place. That's where your championship battle is going to be. Tyler Gilmet starting off in 4th with Shane Hunter in 5th place. Gerard Gilbert in 6th. Lionel Duprat starting off in 7th place. Then we have Mark Kidrowski and Eric Intilli on that next row. Sean Reese, Matt Owens in 14th. Then we have Jared Eaton in 15th and Chris Sherburne in 16th. Then we have Martin Roy, who didn't set a qualifying time. We're not sure he's going to race either.
And I do see that he's in the session, but yeah, not sure if he's going to get out there on the grid. Today's weather is going to get cooler and cooler, and it is already pretty sticky conditions on the track with only 77 degrees Fahrenheit on the surface. But it is 8 p.m. virtual standard time, and we are going into the evening here, so the sun should pretty fully go down by the end of our 90 minutes today. As we take a look at the field gridded up. Let's go to Bill first to end out the season on our picks. We should keep track of this, Bill, and figure out who got the most accurate picks.
No, I don't think we need to do that. Jason De Vries Jason DeVries sitting on pole. Now, you think I'm going chalk, but really, you got to figure Gerard's the favorite. Do it. Let's give it to Deep Freeze here on this one. Boy, Ryan Huff, Stephen McGarvey. How about John Paquin? We haven't seen him for a while. Let's give Paquin the shot in the GTLMs. Good to see John back.
You know, if I was playing a safe game, I'd say Paul Slavonic would get it from pole in the GTDs, but I'm going to take a risk and say that Kevin Santana is going to have the eagerness to get up there and take that win in the GTDs and hopefully put a challenge to Mike Major for the champion.
Joe, I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to pretend like it's for the fans, but really it's for me. Where's the finish line here today?
The finish line is after the bus stop today,
Okay.
but the start line is down the hill. So it is the classic start line here with the endurance layout. So they're going to be away from the pace car for a while because this Porsche pace car, you're going to see it peel in right here, which is also going to affect this race because we'll talk about the pit stops a little bit later. That's where they have to go in. And then watch it how long they're going to be just putting along here at pace speed, just under 60 miles an hour, with Jason DeVries controlling the field before they can accelerate out of the hairpin of La Source, which in the Grand Prix version is the first corner, but it won't be so today. First corner is going to be Eau Rouge. So as they come around there, they're going to be able to accelerate here after they cross this line. DeVries waiting. He does not wait at all, though. As soon as he's across, green flag is out. DeVries with a fantastic jump, pulling ahead into the lead. In fact, they're getting single file before they hit Eau Rouge with Billy Smith overtaking Jason Gerard. A little bit of battling in the back with actually some big contact. And around goes Robert Cancian as everybody else gets through. Let's go to the GTLMs.
Much more civilized here. Huff gets a good start. McGarvey slots into second. Turcotte, Paquin tried to get up there, could not. Rounded out your top five, Turngale.
The GTDs, we have a pretty even field. Looks like Paul Savant got a good jump with Mike Major falling in behind, Kevin Santana even behind him. But then we have Tyler Gilmet and Shane Hunter, and we have quite a few cars that struggled a little bit through that Eau Rouge Radeon complex, but they're doing really well right now. We actually have a pass up there, it looks like, for the 7th position with Gerard Gilbert getting past. And wow, Gerard's going backwards actually, guys.
And we almost had a pass for the lead there in the GTDs. Major tried to go on Slavonic, but it didn't quite work out.
The two prototypes that got involved were Cancian and Mole. Cancian got the worst of it. Mole continues to race.
I can report that Gerard Gilbert cut the Radeon chicane, so he had to take a slowdown. That's why he was going backward in the field.
Oh, Billy Smith just had a big bobble. Coming into Stavelo, this is going to open up the door for Jason Gerard. He steps through and gets that second place right back before the lap is even over. But as these two squabble, Jason DeVries pulling himself a gap of about 1.7 seconds ahead of everybody in the prototype field. They're getting ready to come around to complete lap one.
Yeah, DeVries is really icing the field here as he's got almost a 2-second lead on Gerard.
Guys, it looks like Kevin Santana is trying to build a run here on Mike Major, trying to go for the second position. He looked inside of him just on that last lap, so he's definitely trying to look for a gap here. He's just a little bit too far back right now, but if Mike Major makes a mistake through this corner, no, he doesn't. So Santana is going to have to be content to sit back there, but this is definitely his best opportunity down these long straights in the last and first sectors.
Everybody coming back together as they break for the bus stop chicane. And then on to the pit straight. A good exit for Paul Slavonic, who's won 3 out of the last 4 rounds. We talked about how it was too little too late. He finally broke his duck on wins, and now it's like you can't stop the guy. Slavonic, a gap of about half a second, 3/4 of a second down to Mike Major for the moment.
Adam, if I'm Major, I'm giving Santana all the room that Santana wants.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, this is your championship contender, so if you can make him make a mistake, that's your best opportunity. But look at this, Mike Major's got a good run on Slavonic. We know how hard that AMG can pull up the hill, but I don't think he's going to have room.
Yeah, he runs out of racetrack by the time they break for the Lacombe chicane. And they also pulled away from Santana as well, making his day a little bit more worse. Thankfully for him, he is also in an AMG. the same as Mike Major. So they've got a level playing field in that sense.
The championship is a championship, but the champagne's a little sweeter if you have a win to your credit. I think Major might like to get a win before they close out the season.
Yeah, I suspect he'll at least be trying for it, but I don't think he'll wreck that championship if possible. Now, I think we've got an opportunity to try and look at the replay of the opening lap incident with our prototypes, with Kanchan getting turned around. I saw just a bit of it up and over Radillon. Here's Kanchan. He's in the dark-colored car that you see. We're going to get side by side here, and unfortunately, the orange and white machine of Mole just tangles with him a little bit, enough to turn him around, but thankfully he didn't hit anything.
Mole also had to worry about Joshua Wolf, who was back right on his right hind quarter there, so he had a lot to worry about.
Got another Wolf joke for behind the quarter?
There you go. I just slipped it in.
See, I'm listening. Kanchan did get going, even though he was put back amongst the GTLMs, but he's 11, almost 12 seconds behind Sheldon Rosenbaum, who's the next car up in the prototype field. Kanchan's got some work to do for sure. Prototypes have rather spread out here early on, so let's check on those GTLMs, because the battle for the lead there is between our current champion, Stephen McGarvey, who wins it again, and Huff, who holds the lead.
How about Ryan Huff hanging on there, holding the champions behind him? I think McGarvey had a run. I think he could have forced the issue if he wanted to. He knows he's got another 88 and a half minutes of racing to go.
And this is quite appropriate for these two to be battling two marks that are on their way out of GTE racing, at least with factory support. The BMW M8 and, of course, the classic Ford GT. Right now, the Ford leading the pair of them as we ride on board the BMW of McGarvey.
I'm supposed to stay impartial, but honestly, if that Ford got the win, it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen.
Well, right now he's got a lot of pressure from behind. Don't forget about Olivier Turcotte, who looked pretty fast last week, nearly took the win at Silverstone, but just didn't have the pace to overtake. He was within less than a second at the line after 60 minutes of racing. If these two start fighting, that could very much change.
Expect Paquin to be better at the end of the race. He's got all this many laps to get the rust off before he really has to start racing. So if he can stay close, he's a factor.
Has won before, just hasn't been back in a while, but the 25 returns here for the finale. Try to have some fun with a few of the other regulars. Back onto the main straight. Huff about half a second clear of McGarvey. Keeping half an eye on those GTD cars battling. And it looks like the complexion of the lead has changed there, because I noticed that Major's no longer up on Slavonic, Adam.
Yeah, it looks like Santana is catching up to Major. Major is struggling with his race pace, which is something we've seen a lot. And look how close he is now. He might have an opportunity to dive down inside. He's going to look for it now, and he's going to try and stick his nose in. Major's just going to take the corner like usual. Gives him a little bit of room, but Santana might have a good run here as they go up the Kemmel Straight.
You have to wonder as well what sort of frustrations are in the head of Santana, knowing he's in the position he's in because of the contact with Major. Now, he was pretty pragmatic about what happened at Silverstone when we talked to him. Even still, there has to be something lingering in there, thinking I could have so much easier of a time to try and get this championship. Does he go aggressive? Does he really force hard racing on Mike Major? Or does he sit back and play nice?
You know, Joe, all of this that I'm seeing right now, the difference between the two car setups is becoming very evident to me. Mike Major has trimmed out his car quite a bit, whereas Kevin Santana has his car trimmed in for the corners a little bit better, and it looks like McGarvey might be the same way.
Yeah, McGarvey right now is just pestering the Ford of Ryan Huff. I've seen McGarvey a lot. Let's see right now if he's actually interested in making the pass. He is.
Yeah, he got a great run out of Stavelo. They're going to be side by side. You can't really do that through Blanchimont, though. And it looks like McGarvey is aware of that. He backs out of it before they try and hit this left-hander. Now he's going to get a chance to try and outbrake him into the bus stop, but I think he gave away a little too much time.
That brings Olivier Checkered right into the mix now. It's a 3-car battle. John Pinkman also keeping pace with these guys.
Really, it's the top 4, and then Joey Trungale, the 5th in line, is well back there. So the majority of our field is stuck together in this GTLM class. We now ride on board with Turcotte. Even more fascinatingly, we've got in the top 4 a Ford, BMW, a Porsche, and a Ferrari. So all 4 makes are represented. This is another good one out of McGarvey. Let's see what the 18 can do with the slipstream. Down the Kemmel straight. They come into the braking. He's going to take a look to the inside into Lacombe. Still going to fight it. That Ford not willing to give up, but it switches back into Malmedy with the inside going back to McGarvey. He's still slightly ahead, and now look at this. Here comes Turcotte, thinking maybe he could get one in this process. Manages to get to the inside of Huff. Once again, track changing direction as it plunges downhill through No Name, and unfortunately his ploy doesn't work. In fact, spins into the wall, just catches as the left side smacks the Armco.
Boy, that's a really smart save. He locked it up, slowed the car down, but then it was aiming for the wall. You can't steer the car when you're locked up as he goes off again after he gets it together. He gets off the brakes, turns the car so he barely grazes the wall.
Hopefully he didn't damage the suspension with that. That really set him back, though. The top 3 are about 6 seconds ahead of him. Looks as though we've lost one of our prototypes as well. Adam, did you see what happened to Rosenbaum?
Yeah, Rosenbaum just at the top of the hill just got his right rear tires into some grass and spun into the Armco, and it was just too much damage, and he decided to step out of the race tonight, unfortunately.
Going back to that championship battle in the GTD class. This is the first time they have specified that any drivers driving in the GTD class are in the AM category. So these are all very equally matched drivers in terms of skill. And so far, it's proven so in the championship, which again, last round going in was tied and only changed as drastically as it did because of such a dramatic ending. Even still, Major's doing everything he needs to try and win this championship. As he sits right now, he will not lose it. And in fact, he's going to give up the spot. That is very telling. And I think Santana might actually lose that position right back because he goes way too deep into the bus stop. He manages to get off the corner, Adam, but look at that.
Yeah, that looked a little bit too familiar going into that corner there, and it looks like Eric Antilli has decided to take to the pits as well. And so here we go, Mike Major losing another position to Shane Hunter. If he loses too many of these, he's going to be out of the championship fight, so he might have to fight back for this one, but he decides to back it off. So Mike Major's lack of race pace is starting to rear its ugly head for him, and he's starting to lose positions that are crucial to his championship win.
Yeah, Mike shouldn't rely on our math too much. Don't give up too many positions.
Yeah, 4th is still comfortable, and he had a decent run over Durian. He lifted a little bit so that he doesn't pass Gomet.
Joe, Santana's in 2nd and 6th place. I mean, 6th is the way that he secures it even if Santana wins, but 6th is less than a second behind him right now. He's got to go.
Right.
Ooh, and Duprat just had some connection issues behind him. As I think he manages to come back, so hopefully that won't affect this battle. If Santana finishes 2nd, though, Major needs to finish. It was 8th or 9th or worse is what
Correct,
it was.
Yeah.
Let me
So that is currently held by Eaton.
Tyler Gilmet just spun.
And there's one position right back for Mike Major, and bumps him to 3rd. Gilmet gets it turned around, falls to 6th position.
Joe, we saw this when we broadcasted the Majors race here. these Audis really seem to lose their rear end when they go around that turn. And it's really a fascinating thing because they just do this kind of slow, lazy spin. And fortunately, he managed not to hit anything, but still, that's going to affect his rear tires even more, and he might consider pitting early at this point.
Let me scare the fans and the director as Gerard has hit the wall, but it is Gerard Gilbert, not Jason Gerard. It's the end of the season.
As we take a look at the battle for P1 and GTLM, McGarvey with another run. They come up to LeCoultre. He managed to fend him off with a similar situation. Steven thinks twice about it. Backs out of his momentum by the time they break for the corner. Aguin's starting to catch them a little bit, it looks like. He's down to 1.3 seconds.
Remember, he had Turcotte between them a while ago when they were battling, and the Pac-Man just holding station little by little, gathering them up. I'm telling you, John's going to be faster at the end of the race.
Looks like we've lost Lionel Duprat now as his connection has gotten bad enough. He is out of the server. That will plunge him downwards as Antilli manages to get by him now. But Antilli, we mentioned it, he's pitted, and I think that was within the window. I'm pretty certain.
Yes, it was, Joe. Well, I mean, it was within the window just barely, but that was definitely a scheduled stop for him. And you know, he's got a good opportunity to do this because he did not get a great qualifying. We've seen him have good performances in the past, so an alternate strategy is a good idea when you're back in the field.
And that graphic that we have there in the bottom right perfectly illustrates what I mentioned earlier, Bill, about how the pit stops affect this race. It was 90 seconds from cone to cone. That's a long time.
Yeah. It's all the way around the Jack-in-the-Box fast food order. Is that correct here, how this works?
I thought it was
Joe,
a McDonald's corner.
Joe, I want to take us to, if we could, a replay of what just happened with P6 and the GTDs. This is Sean Reese and Tyler Gilmette getting really close to one another.
Ooh, yeah. I'm just looking at it now, and that was an incredible battle. It looks like it was kicked off with De Vries trying to get between him. That's the black prototype that you see. And then the black Audi to the inside, that's Sean Reese trying to get, excuse me, that is, that's Gilmette, rather. Reese in the other car, and he manages to get away after Gilmette goes way wide out of No Name.
Yeah, this is not where you want to be if you are Jason Gerard trying to make it through. They're going 3 wide between 2 GTDs. That is the last place you want to be.
And Gilmette had just spun a little while earlier, so that's why he's so far back.
You watch it from on board the perspective of Gerard. And this is why he's a champion, though. Just picks his timing perfectly. Squeezes through in a 3-wide situation and continues on. Gerard only 2 seconds behind De Vries.
We got a big one. If we can go to Sean Reese, we got a big pile up coming out of La Source. It involves Tyler Gilmette.
Ooh, Gilmette again. He was just in those replays we just watched.
And the prototype of Dean Mole.
Oh, Gilmette, I think went for a late dive here.
Coming up here as they get to the source.
Oh no.
And I'm pretty certain that Mole is teammates with Gilmette.
It wasn't Gilmette, it was Sean Reese. Look at him. Oh goodness. Reese just spun the rear tires coming off the corner and knew he was going to come across the track, so tried to back out of it, but it was too late. And that allowed...
Put Gilmette up on the wall, and Mole kind of went under him. I'm not sure how he
scooped him up.
Those prototypes aren't real strong.
Horrible, horrible timing. We said that this race tends to produce weird incidents, and, well, there's our first one for today. At least, hopefully, that's the last. Still an hour and 12 minutes to go. As that battle for the lead and the GTLM is just not going away. I'm not sure, though, if McGarvey is intentionally waiting back here now.
The last thing they need to do slow each other down. Here he comes.
So he feels good about this one. They approach Lacombe. He had a little bit of a nose ahead, but they're dead even under braking. This time he's fully passed. He can shut the door, and he does. Stephen McGarvey, now your leader in the GTLM class. Patience is a virtue. McGarvey certainly showed some there as he was trailing very closely for quite a while. Had to put some elbow grease into it. We've got one of our prototypes into pit.
Yeah.
The number 79 of D-Mole.
From the damage he picked up in the La Source incident. This is not in his window.
Yeah, I think he's going to be just shy of it, unfortunately, and an extra stop is going to really hurt on his lap times if he can't manage to get the fuel to go to the end. You know what? In all the traffic that Smith and Gerard have been getting through, Smith has stayed within a second of our champion here.
And the interval between DeVries and Gerard about it expands and shrinks from 1.5 to 2.5, but Gerard doing a good job of staying there.
Oh, and we got a battle behind them as Peterson trying to catch up to Wolf. They head out into Lafayette. A quick right-left, especially in these high downforce cars. They just went by the traffic of Slavonic, our leader in the GTD, and it's quite a while before they hit any more of that traffic, so it's going to be down to who is quicker, these two on their own.
Wolf having to deal with Slavonic did allow Peterson to get maybe 4 or 5 car lengths closer.
Looking back from the gearbox of Josh Wolf, around through Blanchemont into the bus stop. We're not too far away from the window for the prototypes. Maybe 2 more laps, and then we'll see those drivers duck in.
Remember, we're looking at Peterson, who has a bad exit out of the bus stop, losing some time to Wolf. He's in that tie for 4th in the standings with Mole. Mole having his problems. That's going to let Peterson race a little easier.
And it's a very long stop for Mole. He's only just now coming out. And I believe he's actually going to go a full lap down even. Just barely ahead. So Josh Wolf not going to be able to get fully by because I think he's got enough speed before they hit the braking of Lacombe. But there you can see them in the same picture.
You know, speaking of pit stops, I don't think tires are going to play a factor in the faster 2 classes. Let's look at McGarvey and Huff as this battle continues. You got to wonder in the GTDs with a 90-minute race, maybe you can get close to the midway point. Maybe tires work.
Yeah, it's possible that they work if they can take them with their fuel. I don't remember whether the series allows that, but if that's the case, then yes, you definitely take it. Because if you can get near the halfway point of this race and save a little bit of fuel on your second stint, especially with the fact that it's going into darkness, so you'll be faster anyway, then I think that might be a viable strategy.
Boy, the Ruff is just hounding McGarvey around every corner at this point. And as they swapped positions last time by, Paquin's cut it down now to 1.2 seconds behind them. You can see that Ferrari hovering ever closer. All it'll take is him getting a good launch, getting the slipstream, and then it will be a 3-car fight for the lead. Still waiting for takers for much of the rest of the field. I can tell you that the fans of Guillemette will be sad to learn he has been sitting in the pits for about 6 minutes now after his damage from the incident through La Source. And could we have a reverse of fortunes here between Huff and McGarvey? Because now Huff is the one pulling the toe up the Kemmel straight. Huff is the one taking the inside and has a nose barely ahead and shuts the door on his rival this time.
Paquin now got it down to under a second, almost 7/10 of a second. You can see it on the tower then when it scrolls through. In fact, Paquin is now only about 3 car lengths behind these guys.
There's your podium on screen for the GTLM class. First, second, and third. Huff, McGarvey, and Paquin, respectively. We're nearly a third of the way through the race, though. About 6 more minutes, and we hit the 1 hour mark. That will be the length of a normal race in this series.
Now, I don't want to chicken little in the sky is falling with fuel, because these prototypes, it'll make me happy if I can see somebody go at least past the 1 hour mark.
Well, we should be able to, unless someone wants to pit early.
Right, I'm saying it's possible they could pit early and scare me that their tanks were dry, but usually they get about 31, 32 minutes of fuel. Spa's pretty darn thirsty.
And Soup, not only is Spa thirsty, but also you gotta remember that if you time it wrong and you have to do an extra lap, that is a long way to go around this track.
A really good point.
And in cooler temperatures, they burn more fuel since they're going faster, typically here on iRacing. So they're only going to get quicker, and the fuel consumption will get higher as the race goes on. So whoever is doing their calculations has got to pay attention. Down into Eau Rouge one more time. They're going past the traffic of was Eric and Tilly that they just went by, and thankfully all were able to sneak through before they got to Eau Rouge. Bacon just managing to slide through before they entered the corner. This time by, not enough of a run for McGarvey, so Huff safely keeps the lead.
It won't be long till DeVries gets up to these guys, and that'll be interesting. DeVries only has 1.3 seconds back to Gerard, and Paquin is not going to want to be all that courteous when it comes to... I mean, he'll be courteous, but he's not going to want to have to sacrifice time in doing it.
Certainly not. Let's stay on this because it's closer, but just an update on the GTD Championship. Slavonic is now 2 seconds ahead of Santana, but Santana 2.5 seconds ahead of Mike Major. Mike's not been able to regain the ground that he lost earlier on.
Yeah, but Joe, he doesn't need to. All he needs to do is finish in 6th place, and if he wants to be safe, 5th place. And so he's doing what he needs to do. He's got 3 seconds over Shane Hunter, and he's got 5 seconds over Mark Kudrowski. So all he needs to do is just sit exactly where he is, and he'll win this championship. It's on Santana to try and get up there and get a win and force Mike Major to maintain that position still.
The way I saw Major surrender that spot going down into the bus stop, I know he's racing big picture right now.
Yeah, I concur, Bill. I thought the same thing as soon as I saw that move. As we watch our leader DeVries deal with quite a bit of this traffic. He gets by 2 of them, but not the leader. That's going to split Huff and McGarvey.
Gerard's coming
now
too.
He manages to get by.
Gerard gets Paquin.
He's going to have to hope, and they're going to have to hope that he gets by before Eau Rouge here. But I don't think he's going to get both of them. He's got one with McGarvey. How much is he going to be held up through here with Ryan Huff, though?
Actually, that worked out pretty well.
Timed it decently. Still, I guess he didn't lose time. It's still 2 seconds between them.
That did split up the GTDs, the GTLMs a little bit.
Billy Smith also trying to get by them. Smith could yet be a wild card in this one. Sitting in 3rd and only nearly 4 seconds behind the overall leader. He's got no pressure from behind with Joshua Wolf having fallen back early on. It is Kanchan, though. Remember, Kanchan had his issues. Now, he's ahead of Dean Mole, but again, Mole has had to come into the pits for damage repair. And Mole's stop was rather long. Kanchan on essentially a recovery drive. If you're just joining us, the very first lap, very first corner spun around in Eau Rouge, managed not to hit anything, and it was Mole that tipped him. Since then, it's been something of a lonely run for the 199.
And Joe, we're going to take a look right now at Martin Roy and Jared Eaton. Martin Roy also spun on the first lap and collected a little bit of damage, so he's on a recovery drive as well, and he's making his way up to Jared Eaton, who's a little bit off pace from Roy. About 0.3 a lap is Roy faster than Eaton. So as we're taking a look at this, I think Martin Roy's going to get him in the next couple laps.
Yeah, Roy didn't put in that qualifying time, and we were wondering as we were calling out the grid if he was going to race. He did race, but he had not a very auspicious first lap.
Breaking into Lacombe, the two of them stay where they are in 7th and 8th, but you could see the car ahead growing larger as we ride on board with Roy. It was a good feeling when you can visibly tell that you're gaining.
Guys, it looks like Olivier Turcotte has come in for the pit stop. First of the GTLMs.
So he's still working his way up and around this corner that they have in the pit stall. Very unique pit lane here when they do the endurance layout.
McDoubles are on sale. They're like 2 for $1.50.
Guys, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw someone hit that outside wall or the inside wall coming around that corner. It's surprisingly sharp, and especially here in the sim, it's really difficult to sight yourself coming around those corners.
Bill, shall I give you the honors of talking about this where someone hit that wall?
It's your line. It's too good.
We actually it was Tinsey, wasn't it?
It was.
Got turned. Tinsey did exactly what you said, Adam, and it turned him sideways, and he had an Austin Powers moment where he could not get the car turned around because it was too thin. So he had to press the escape button and take a tow in the pits.
And he had a crowd waiting for it to happen, too.
Cars got bottled up behind him in the middle of pit stops. Probably one of the weirdest things we've ever seen here on GSRC as we continue to watch these battles on screen for the lead in the GTLMs. Huff ahead of McGarvey, who's now finding himself being threatened by Paquin.
Yeah, McGarvey just got held up by the lap GTD car, so that's going to allow Paquin to get a good run, and he might try something here to the chicane if he can get a run.
Backs out of it through Blanchimont. That loses him about 2 car lengths. You can see the blue Ferrari a little too far back to try and send one into the bus stop. And while they continue on, let's not forget that Olivier Turcotte has come in and pit. Now, he was relatively far back, so I'm not sure that he'll be able to jump them. But if they keep getting traffic, Bill, and if they fight with each other a lot, there's always a chance.
Yeah, he was the Porsche in that 4 manufacturer battle that had the problem, and he backed out of it. But he was running some hot laps. My Chicken Little syndrome, I'm feeling much better as we've crossed the 1 hour mark, and the prototypes are still out there. So we're good to go for 2 stops for them.
And Dean Mole actually has managed to get overall past all the GTLMs. He was in amongst them after his pit stop. Certainly don't want yourself to get any more traffic than you need. There you see Mole running in the last spot of our prototypes.
Mole still out there running, not wishing for anything bad to happen to Leif Peterson, but if some reason Leif had to exit out, it wouldn't be the worst thing to happen to Dean Mole as they're tied for 4th.
Let's take a look at the GTD battle for 4th. This is between Hunter and Kudrowski. Kudrowski managing to get his first win of the series this season out at Phillip Island. He's looking to go from a top 5 to a top 4, which could turn into a podium. You just never know in this series. You put yourself in the right spot.
Yeah, definitely. Kudrowski's been catching Hunter for the last couple of laps, and looks like Hunter's upped his pace just a little bit in the last lap to try and hold off Kudrowski. But Kudrowski is close enough right now. If he can get a good exit here, he might just be in the slipstream and be able to pull up close to him before they go into the second sector.
Warms the cockles and adjacent giblets of my heart when one of those series veterans finally get their first win. Congratulations to Matt Kudrowski for having that happen.
Everybody loves an underdog, and that first win does indeed feel good to watch and call here on the channel. But on board Kudrowski, He is more focused on the task at hand and not dwelling on the past. Shane Hunter less than a half second ahead of him. Up at the lead in the prototypes, Jason Girard and Jason DeVries. The battle of the Jasons. And it's only 3/10 between them. They've dropped Billy Smith since we last looked. Let's stay with this battle, but Wilson is also pitting currently.
DeVries lost a little time trying to get around Sean Reese.
Down out of Rivage and into No Name. Jason Girard has fought with DeVries before in the past, and probably just about each class these two have hopped around towards each season. But as they come out of Puhan, DeVries looking a lot stronger through these faster sweeping corners. Now, when do they pit, though? Are we towards the end of the window with Wilson now coming in? Out of Stavelo, they're going to hit that pit entry pretty soon. It's a fast stretch down here through Blanchimont, flat out in these high downforce prototypes, and then stamping onto the brakes. If they want to come in the pits, you'll see them duck right.
I think it's going to happen right here. I think you set it up nicely, Joe.
And 1 and 2. Both of them in. Make it 3 with Billy Smith following suit.
Take a look at that. Girard just gained a couple of feet on DeVries just there on the pit entry. So that's actually going to gain him probably a good couple of tenths on track as well.
Josh Wolf is now into the pits. Yep, I think this is the end of the window because also Leif Peterson, Robert Kanchan will be the last of the drivers yet to pit in the prototypes to come in, and he is actually coming up to that entry now. So I wonder if he'll join them. That'll confirm.
Ian Mole stayed out to get his lap back. We expect though that he has 2 more stops to make.
This is indeed as far as they go. Kanchan comes in as well. So very few takers wanting to go an unusual and unorthodox strategy here in the prototypes. 6 out of our 8 cars that are still running have all come in on the same lap, and you can see they're still making their way towards the stalls. Finally, they get to it. We saw 22 seconds for Mark Wilson. So far, that's the only representative stop that we've had in the prototypes. DeVries still in there. Now he goes exactly the same as Wilson, 22 seconds for him. But Girard with a very quick stop. Girard out by 5 seconds quicker.
Did he take less fuel, Sue? Is that what happened?
Yeah,
That's my guess.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he could. There is a little bit of leeway to short stop, do a short stint in the middle one, Bill. So I wonder if that's what he's done here to get himself positioned.
Yeah, it looks like the advantage that Girard had was all in the box rather than lane to lane or cone to cone. So, yeah, you take a little less now, you take a little more later.
But he's got clear track, and he doesn't have to worry about overtaking him. So if he runs faster laps in this stint, that could build the gap. Billy Smith also used the same strategy. 17 seconds, 17 and a half in the stall for the 901. That gains him a little time on DeVries and puts him within 1 second of the P1 car.
And their car is 3 seconds lighter of fuel, so, you know, in that respect, maybe it's quicker.
While we were watching those prototype pit stops, Mark Kudrowski also came into the pits, and he gave up his battle with Shane Hunter to get an early pit stop. So he's trying an alternate strategy, it seems like, as well. He's going to split it up into 2 stops.
See, now the GTLMs, they have not made their stop yet.
McGarvey just did now.
Oh, McGarvey, okay, there you go.
And looks like Paquin following him in. Trungale's a long way back, but Huff stays out.
Right, now remember we saw the driver, who was it in this class, or in the other class that made the early stop. So this is going to be a a long stop and then a splash and go here.
And Turcotte, actually, let's keep track of where he winds up in all of this. He did have a little bit of a spin, so we'll probably be slightly behind them. Doesn't look like he stopped to get any of the repairs from the contact with the Armco, as his stop is only about 19 seconds. Jeez, it never stops amazing me how long it takes to get down this pit lane to their stalls. And I think with the 30 cars that we had, none of them are around the corner, so they're all on the downhill portion. This is Turcotte coming up to the bus stop. McGarvey and Paquin still in their stalls. Paquin out. And out ahead of McGarvey. Very similar situation to what we saw with the prototypes. Paquin 5-6 seconds quicker than Stephen McGarvey in his pit.
Neither one took tires.
Got down the hill, but he is well behind McGarvey. Stephen's just now starting to get up to speed, so I don't think Olivier was able to gain much with his early strategy, waiting for the timing to sort itself out to really get a feel of how far apart they are.
Yeah, now my dad used to say Rumpelstiltskin is going to come for the baby, and that's what's going to happen here with Paquin. Keep this in mind. He had a fast stop, but he's going to have to pay for it later when they come in for that second stop. McGarvey is just going to splash and go. Paquin's going to have to take a little more fuel.
Yeah, and Soup, it looks like the same thing happened in the prototypes as well. Both Gerard and Smith had 17-second stops, whereas the rest of the field was more in the 22-second range. So I think we're going to see a similar thing happen with the prototypes on the second stop.
What about Huff? What strategy is he going to play? He just comes into the pits now. Joey Trungale didn't last time by, so we're waiting on him. Huff was starting to pull away from Stephen McGarvey before the pit stops. Just as he was coming in, I looked at the gap and it had grown a fair bit. Question is it going to take the 16-second mark that we've seen from some, or the 22-second mark? Because that could affect whether or not he comes back out in the lead. If he takes 22 seconds worth of fuel, then Paquin should easily be able to jump him. Huff now taking fuel.
Paquin heading to La Source.
Huff still stationary. It's past 16 seconds now. It's going to be a long stop for Ryan. This will indeed hand over the lead. Just as he gets going, Paquin goes by. No, he's still back there, actually. I take that back. Thought I saw him come by, and
Paquin got him.
There he goes. Yep.
Now the question is, will McGarvey have enough pace to get him? McGarvey's full song. Huff's back out on the track. Here comes Stephen.
I think he's got this. Nicely done. Pit stops working well for Stephen McGarvey, and he retakes second, what could have been the lead over Ryan Huff. But Paquin, now you're the leader after the first set of stops in the GTLMs.
Paquin third before the stops. First down. Go ahead.
Guys, while we're watching this, the leaders, well, the whole field of GTD top 5 is in right now. From Slavonic all the way down to Martin Roy, who is in for the pits. So Kudrowski and Eric Antilli came in earlier, but Paul Slavonic, Mike Major, Kevin Santana, Shane Hunter, all in for their stops. This is going to become interesting because this is not at the 45-minute mark. So these guys are going to be short by about 5 minutes on fuel. So if they don't save that on track, they're going to have to come in for a splash and go. And, you know, Soup, I think with the amount of time you spend on pit road around here, trying to save those 5 minutes of fuel is going to be better.
I would think so, because the pit stops are so brutal. If you could one-stop this, put an egg under the throttle.
It's nearly a full lap, so you've got a lot of leeway. That's a good point, Adam. I had not thought about that with how close it's getting to the halfway mark.
And look at this. I think it looks like we got split strategies here. Santana is coming out is going to come out behind Mike Major. Mike Major, I believe... No, they're both still in their boxes. Okay.
But we do have short stops for Slavonic, Kodrowski, and Hunter, as well as Antilli.
So Slavonic going for the two-stop strategy, though. Whereas Kodrowski and Major are going to try the one-stop. Sorry, the Santana and Major are going to try the one-stop.
And if it doesn't work, they'll splash and go. But
yeah, it's still a two-stop at that point. Well, this puts Santana and Major down in 6th and 7th, respectively. Santana ahead, but Major's still comfortable as long as he's got Santana in sight. Then Major is got this championship wrapped up.
You know, Mike really shouldn't be the guy playing with a fuel strategy. The last thing he needs to do is run out of fuel on the last lap.
I mean, the thing is monkey see, monkey do, Bill. If Major does everything Santana does,
okay,
then he can't, pull a fast one over him. Like I was saying, as long as he stays where Santana is, if he's one position behind, doesn't matter if they are at the very back of the field or very front of the field, Major wins.
Yeah, but Mike doesn't need to follow Santana around on a dry tank of gas.
Oh no!
Yeah.
If Santana's gonna run out, Mike will come in and get a splash because he, it's. But that being said, I mean, he's gotta watch out a little bit and make sure that Santana isn't gonna go up there and take that lead away from those guys who did the two-stop strategy.
Development's getting very interesting out here on track, and you can tell that the sun is pretty much below the horizon around the entire track. We, of course, are in a very mountainous, hilly area in the Ardennes.
It's so dark here.
Yeah, it's going to get very dark, but will it be full of terrors, Bill? That's the question.
This place is dark and full of terrors. It's just
saying the woods in Belgium are scary?
Yes.
I think they'd be full of all kinds of fairy tale creatures and whatnot.
No.
Yeah, we'll definitely be full dark by the time this race ends, guys. I think that we're going to just get there.
We're going to take a look at Ryan Huff, because even though McGarvey did jump him in the pit stops, Ryan is still close behind him, and he could manage to get back by. And, of course, we expect this to swing back in their favor once Paquin pits and takes a little bit more fuel. Right now, that gap, just for reference, is about 4.5 seconds from McGarvey to Paquin. Is going to need a 6-second gap, though, because he was 6 seconds quicker in his stall last time by. So he's going to have to pay that back later.
Adam, is this Chris Sherburne taking his first stop?
His first stop, yes. He went longer than just about anybody.
There you go.
I'm pretty sure that he's been saving fuel since the start of this race, so he's trying to ensure that he can make it to the end on fuel. But it might be too little too late. If his pace isn't good enough, it's not going to matter whether or not he can make it to the end.
Yeah, I think you're right. He was well behind everybody else before the stops, and now you're going to see it, because I think he'll come out with Gerard Gilbert. We haven't really looked at Gerard too much. You mentioned, Bill, that he had gotten the wall a little bit earlier, so why don't we put the cameras on the 76 just to give him a little bit of love and also see how his car is doing.
Well, his car's a little bit damaged from that incident earlier on, so he's struggling with a very tight race car. He's having trouble getting it through the corners, and that's quite a different story than you're used to in the Audi, with it being a very loose car. But as he's, oh my goodness, looks like he almost gets into Dean Mole there, but wow. Yeah, he's really struggling with the handling of that car right now.
Gilbert and Mole, two drivers who have both had issues this race.
And Sherburne's back out in 10th in class. We have lost a few of our GTDs thus far. Guillemette has retired. Duprat, we mentioned his connection went out. He has not returned. And Matt Owens, I think he was a did not start potentially. If not, he was in the pits for a long time and then left. Let's check out 5th place, though, within this class.
Yeah, this is between Major and Santana. We've seen this before, that Major has good pace at the beginning of runs. So Mike Major is catching up to Kevin Santana, but I'm pretty sure we'll see this advantage drop away as the run goes on, because over the last couple races, we've seen that Santana's overall race pace is faster than Mike Major's until we get very late on in the race and to very low tire wear, and that's where Mike Major's consistency seems to do better for him. So watch as he gains up here. He's not going to make it to be able to make the pass up at this corner here, but Mike Major's trying to catch up to Santana and might even try and pass him.
Santana's going to be fighting a lot harder. Now, I see that Robert Cancian is no longer in the server as well, it looks like. I'm trying to figure out what happened to him. And I'm not seeing anything for quite a while.
No, Joe, it looks like he pulled off of his own volition and decided to park it.
Yeah, didn't hit anything, didn't look out of sorts. So not exactly sure why Robert decided to end his race prematurely, but he has. So that's another DNF for our prototypes. Our 6th DNF car of the day.
And here we're looking at this is the battle between Shane Hunter and Eric Antilli for the 3rd position in the GTDs. Antilli catching up to Hunter after this round of pit stops, and it looks like he's got quite a fast car underneath him right now. So Antilli on a charge right now. Kodrowski's not that far up the field either, so these guys doing a really good job. It looks like Chris Sherbert's had an issue.
And Sherburne was our one that was trying to save fuel. Oh, you know what? I think he was letting the leader go by. He was getting lapped by the GTD leader, so that's why he went wide. We're going to watch from Antilli's perspective. He's managed to get himself into 4th. Just ahead of him, that is Dean Mole, lapping both of them. Mole looking not to get involved in this battle, but it certainly looks like it was a bad exit off of Radion for Shane Hunter. Antilli closing in, but he's not going to have enough track.
And Joe, I hate to pull you away from this, but Mike Major's got a good run on Kevin Santana right now. Mike Major's got to be careful, though, because if he makes contact with Santana, this could give Santana an opportunity to run away with this. But it looks like Major's he actually backed off there. I think he might be saving fuel.
When Santana was awful deep into the corner, that loses even more time, which will allow Major more slipstream, which could mean saving more fuel as well.
Exactly, Joe.
He can stay tucked right up underneath there, yeah.
Because all Mike Major needs to do is just keep Santana one car ahead of him, and he wins this championship. So he doesn't have to pass Santana. Santana could go as slow as possible this race, and Mike Major would still win it, just sitting behind him. So Mike Major exactly where he wants to be.
Number 2 about to earn the number 1 if things stay as they are. Major taking his first championship here in the Autobahn Sportscar Challenge. And as Bill said earlier, looking like he's going to do it without a single win, but many, many podiums along the way.
A major accomplishment.
Made me proud, Bill.
Let's look at John Paquin real quick. Paquin's coming up. We're talking about Mike Major. He's coming right up on him. Paquin has really been fast, man.
He's been fast, but he hasn't been stretching away very quickly. Ooh, as he has a little off track there. It's only up to 4.8 seconds ahead of McGarvey. Again, the number that he needs is about 6 to 6.5 seconds to try and fight for the lead after his last pit stop.
This is going to break that battle a little bit between Santana and Major, but, you know, Major's not going to mind, and Santana's not going to mind it either. Looks like Santana's going to back off a little bit. Both of these guys in the GTDs are just saving fuel right now. Kind of funny to see. It's the challenge of...
Huff pits. Sorry to interrupt, but the 41, I think he's still within the pit window. But Ryan Huff making this his short stint.
That'll work.
Interesting strategy, Soup. What do you think? How do you think this is going to play out for him?
I don't know how the manufacturers, how the fuel plays out between the difference of manufacturers. I think this is fine. I think Brian, go back there and just maybe they'll forget about him.
Would you even call it a bold strategy, Adam?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's definitely one you're gonna have to. I mean, it's gonna be a challenge for him. He's gonna have to push really hard in order to get to the end of the race and try and beat these guys. But I mean, we've seen it happen before. And as we take a look, Billy Smith catching up to DeVries looks like.
Yeah, he's been close behind DeVries, but he's been stuck just about a second behind of the number one. And he's not been able to close in. Again, Smith had a shorter stop.
And guys, Kevin Santana just had an off coming down the hill, and it looks like that's going to allow Mike Major to go by. So Kevin Santana in trouble now.
Get a replay on this one. This is through Puhan. And it was all driver error for Kevin Santana. Watch this AMG just...
is unfortunate about that. That held up Jason Gerard and Stephen McGarvey. McGarvey lost good 2-3 seconds on that particular battle.
When I first raced at Spa, I thought maybe that might be the fastest racing line.
Oh, Smith is finally caught up to DeVries now. With all that he's been stuck behind him and not been able to close the gap, suddenly the traffic has pulled them together. And Smith, now within 0.4 of a second, comes around La Source, much tidier through there, but did the better exit potentially go to DeVries? We've got more drivers down the pit lane. We'll get to that in a second. You can see them there as they flashed by on your screen. Coming up the hill, we ride on board with our back-to-back winner of the previous 2 rounds.
Boy, does he have a good run here.
A lot of traffic as well, too.
And that's Santana.
That's Kevin Santana.
Yeah, I don't want to punt him off right here. You would not have a happy Kevin Santana. They managed to get through safely.
Oh my goodness, take a look
Now
at
this is McGarvey and Major in a battle. This is multi-class racing.
And again, this is important to both parties. Major getting held up, and that allows Santana to get back into it. Stephen McGarvey, who is trying to fight for a potential win here, even though he's got the championship, manages to stay out of the way. Smith and DeVries are through. Although it looks like Smith went a little wide through Puhan, that's going to lose him a slight 10th or 2.
All right, so catching back up with Shane Hunter and Eric Antilli in their pit stops. Shane Hunter going for a short one. Eric Antilli going for the full 53-second stop. So that's very different strategies for both of them. And so that's going to make, I mean, Antilli is definitely ready to go till the end of the race. Shane Hunter should be as well good to go on fuel.
I see Dean Moe also in for his second stop, and I think he should be fine. Remember, he was a little bit on the cusp, so he should be able to make it from here. Santana is still following Major, and it was within half a second. Wonder if either of those maybe will try a different strategy and come on in early, but nope. Neither one willing to move it to a 2-stopper quite yet. They seem confident for now. Ooh, I almost wonder if Billy Smith might have a run coming up the Kimmel Straights, because he's within 0.3 of a second. Right on board. Ooh, this is looking very good for the 901. He starts reeling in Jason DeVries. DeVries goes defensive up into Lacombe. Gonna make him work for it around the outside. Both of them even under braking. And eventually Jason DeVries winds up ahead, so Billy Smith not getting it this time.
DeVries with a little bit of a drift over as they were heading down into Lacombe. Left Billy enough room, but didn't make it that easy for him. Now they work their way around Chris Sherburne. The big news is, though, DeVries is almost 8 seconds behind Gerard. Gerard's going to have to take a longer stop, but my goodness, 8 seconds. I don't know if it's going to be that much longer.
There's only 5 seconds difference in the stall, so I think Gerard actually has got this one covered. Unless he loses a lot of time between now and his stop, Jason's going to come out in front. Oh, and Olivia Turcotte has suddenly grayed out on my timing and scoring.
He had a big crash. Looks like it's in Radion. Oh, if we got it.
Pull it up. Yeah, and this is a lone car incident. You know, he got loose earlier in No Name, and he got loose this time, but unfortunately, here it is right here. He's not so lucky this time.
Oh my goodness. That's a brutal accident.
Hence why he is gone from the race now, our newest DNF, Olivier Turcotte. That is a driver, Bill, I think maybe we should watch next season if he returns. He's been up towards the front in most every race we've watched.
Yeah, he needs to hang around Mike Major a little bit and get the... He's quick, but he makes maybe a little too incident prone for to win the championship. If he gets that tucked away, he'll be in good shape.
DeVries has got no respite from Billy Smith because for the second time in 2 laps, he's under attack into Lacombe. This time, though, they have lap traffic. That's our GTD leader of Paul Slavonic. This could offer a pick for Billy Smith. Both of them flashing lights as they plunge into Rivage. Downhill, 180-degree corner. 100 around a hairpin, and both of them managing to sneak through successfully. Oof, wow, Billy Smith is pushing the limits of the track here.
Think he wants to get by, Joe?
I'd say he does. Nothing to lose at this point. No championship. He's not in a points fight with Jason DeVries. It's all for ego.
We can watch this battle. I just want to remind the viewers to watch out on your tower over there when this scrolls through. Keep an eye on Ryan Huff. He's about a minute behind John Paquin. Huff's good to go to the end. Paquin still has to make a stop, as does McGarvey.
That's a good point. We saw him go in, but really haven't paid all that much attention. We're now officially past the 2/3 mark.
That's his plan. He's back there. Don't pay attention to me.
Ooh, there was another off from Jason DeVries. Oh, how I wish we could see how many offs these drivers have actually had. Because it could still yet become a factor late in the race. Across the line one more time for these two. DeVries still ahead of Billy Smith. DeVries in the black machine that you see. The white one that we are on board right now is Billy Smith.
A few seasons ago, the driver they are chasing, Jason Gerard, actually linked away, I think, while battling for the lead with a quarter to go at Phillip Island. So, yeah, incidents can get you.
Good run. Almost straight and belongs to acceleration zones on this track, and as such, the slipstream gets pretty big. Good look to the inside from Billy Smith, but unfortunately, he's a little too far back for that one. See, is anybody able to come in this lap, or has everybody gone by the pits? Yes, they have, in terms of the prototypes, it looks like. Continue to ride on board with Billy Smith. You can see the sun in the distance with its soft glowing orange going down among the trees here in the Ardennes forest. It's now 9 o'clock virtual standard time, 9 p.m. virtual standard time. Excuse me, 7 p.m. virtual standard time. Thankfully, they don't have the normal weather of the Ardennes here yet, or maybe we would see some rain involved in this.
We don't need that, yeah.
Not in the darkness, at least.
Guys, I'd like to update you on the battle between Mike Major and Kevin Santana. Santana has been catching up quite well to the back of Mike Major. Well, Mike Major's just been doing enough to keep him behind, so that's been very good for him. But Santana looks like he's been eager to get by, but he just hasn't been able to make it work on those long straights. And I think that's just because their setups are quite different, with Mike Meacher having less downforce than Santana on his AMG. Oh, and it looks like the prototypes are in.
Yes, indeed. That would be Gerard and Smith, our two drivers that had short stops last time, had to come in a little bit earlier than De Vries, Wolf, and Peterson. So De Vries, Wolf, and Peterson stay out, and we won't really see how this plays out until they take their scheduled stops and cycle through. It is incredibly slow around the pit lane here, 37 miles an hour. I know most of you go faster than that on regular roads. Gerard, of course, gets to his stall. Billy Smith going to follow him in. Wolf manages to go by, but he should come out behind them rather once he takes his second stop. You can see he is overtaking John Paquin, our current leader in the GTLMs.
I would have spot Billy Smith to be a little faster than that to make up a little time on Gerard. That was not the case.
He was about a second faster in his stall, though, from what it looks like. Smith, 17.1 I'm seeing for him, and an 18.4 for Gerard. So Gerard with another relatively quick stop. Remember, his first one was a 17.5 second. So maybe what we're seeing here, Bill, is that they've split it up pretty evenly between the two, and it's actually De Vries who's going to have a very, very short stop this time by. De Vries goes by the pit entrance, though. He's still got fuel to burn.
He's going to run it till it's dry. It'll be easier to calculate. I mean, the less laps you have to go, the easier it is to calculate, at least for me.
Yeah, no, I like that theory. He can be more accurate. And we're still waiting on Paquin to pit. He's gone by the entrance, although he's actually coming up to it now. So is he and McGarvey.
The real interesting thing will be when Paquin pits, we'll be looking at two things. His stop will be longer than McGarvey's, and Huff has already made his stop, so we'll have lots to watch. And here comes Paquin.
Time. As John Paquin into the pits, you see right there. Does McGarvey follow? He does not.
No. So now let's go ahead and pick up Ryan Huff. He'll be so far away.
Yeah, he's through fan use right now. Running in third out of 4 drivers still going in this GTLM class. There's a small one to start with. It's even smaller now, but he's being held up, actually.
He is indeed.
This is Sean Reese. Horrible news for him right when he wants to have a nice hot lap to be able to overtake Paquin. John's actually still not even to his pit stall.
Placed his order. He's still heading towards the stall.
Is it the second window or the first window, Bill?
It's the second window. That's a good call.
Huff now coming into the bus stop. Paquin is in his stall. Huff out of the bus stop. Should be a pretty short stop for John. Ryan was only in for about 7.9. Paquin's still stationary, 14 seconds, 15, 16. It stops at 16. Huff is now coming down the hill. Paquin has a ways to go before he even gets to the cones, which he hits now. And Huff should be able to get him pretty easily, it looks like.
Here he comes, full song. Paquin might get out on the track first. He doesn't. Huff's going to go by him even before Paquin gets out.
Did he gain much time, though, as they settle out? This is looking like a gap of just about a second between them. That's not too great of a distance. I think Paquin's still in this thing.
Next, Stephen McGarvey has to make his stop.
Yeah, he's actually coming through Blanchimont. And you see the BMW. Question someone had posed to me before is if these cars refuel at a different rate, which I need to check out because, you know, that is something that we haven't really considered. They could burn fuel at a slightly different rate, take fuel at a slightly different rate. Can always affect the battle. He doesn't come in this time, though. It seems like the fuel inside the BMW being burned at a very slow rate.
Of course, it's harder for the gas man to put the fuel in at night because it's darker.
They could put a flashlight on there. They got some duct tape. Can computers see in the dark?
Guys, I just want to report on the battle between Santana and Major. That has opened up to 3 seconds between the two of them. And that is just due to, that was when Mark Wilson came through back when he was in second position in the protos. So Major is clearing out quite easily from Santana at this stage of the game. So Santana's, looks like his championship run is coming to a close here. I don't think he's going to have it.
It all comes down to the wire. Unfortunately, I think there's nobody to blame but yourself. There could have been many opportunities, and drivers have said it before. It's not just a what-if for one situation. There's any number of chances where things could have been different. Santana will have to maybe try again next year unless something incredible happens to Mike Major, because I think at worst he will finish in 11th, it looks like, today. And even at that point, he will still earn his 16 drop points.
Right. And Santana would need to finish, even if Major wrecked out, Santana would have to hope that Kudrowski wrecked out as well, so that he would be able to get second.
Or manage to chase him down, which the gap between them is not making that look likely at this point. It is 16 seconds from Major to Kudrowski, third to second. All this focus we've had on those two championship competitors, we haven't given Kudrowski enough credit.
Nope.
He's looking at another podium here today.
Nice run from Mark.
Got to learn from Mark that used to be a Porsche instructor. Bet he wishes they were racing the GT3 Porsche.
Think he'll pick up the Cayman when it comes out?
Oh, I'm pretty sure he will. I look forward to seeing him in that car. Meanwhile, Josh Wolf pits, and looks like he's going to relinquish some positions in the process.
You know, I want to give a tip of the hat to the Autobahn series organizers. We're able to follow this battle between Majors and Santana because of the way they've set up the structure of this thing, where the amateur class is all by themselves. Man, that is really, at least from my point of view, it has really made it fun to watch.
I'm with you, Bill. I think that's one of my favorite additions this season that they added, that the AM Championship was confined to a single class. And it's made the racing down there exciting, and it's also given a lot of drivers their first wins.
Yeah, but it's kind of comparable to how the IMSA series is structured in real life as well, so it makes it very easy to follow along for those who are fans of that series as well.
Wolf returns in 4th place. Oh, did Billy Smith have an extra stop? I'm seeing a 3rd stop for Smith. What happened? I just noticed he was behind Wolf. Checking his lap times here.
Yeah, he pitted 2 laps ago, Joe, on lap 32.
And it was a very short stop. You know what? I think he underfueled it. It was just 2 seconds, a splash and dash.
Speaking of underfueled it, Jason DeVries is in. I'm not saying that he underfueled it, but he's taking his final pit stop potentially.
Oh, no, we have Bill to say he's underfueled it, so don't worry about that.
Yeah, no, I think we're safe there, but I think you got it on. Billy Smith was trying to short fill that middle stop, and I think he really short filled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Leif Peterson now pitting. Coming in from 2nd place. That's the last 2 of our prototypes that need to pit. And this will sort out the order from here on out. Gerard is actually just coming around now. And DeVries is exiting. This is going to be very tight. This is for the lead and the prototypes. DeVries getting his speed up, but Gerard already flying through Eau Rouge and Radillon. And I think he's going to have the pace as he flashes his lights at his rival. Off to the left, zips by. The lead goes back to our current champion.
That's still really close, though, guys. That's under a second between the two of them, so if De Vries can get up to pace now, he has a chance to catch Gerard.
Let's watch a replay of that return to the track. Now, let's not forget that Josh Wolf might have a chance here to get himself into third with Peterson hitting. There's the replay of the return to the track. And actually, if we want a replay from just about 30 seconds ago, Josh Wolf almost lost the car coming out of the source.
Wolf's got to be careful here. He's in a good position. He's ahead of Smith.
Yeah, thanks to Smith having his issues, which, by the way, he's in the pits again. And I'm not sure why, because it's a long stop now. There you see the mistake.
Goodness.
Yeah, that was a lurid slide. And he doesn't need to push because he's 43 seconds behind Jason De Vries. So I don't think he's really going to run down our 2 leaders in the last laps. And he's got 5 seconds ahead of Peterson. He just has to play it comfortable. As the lights shine in the darkness, 15 minutes are left to go on the clock. And our 2 leaders in the prototypes are now separated by 0.3 of a second. Bill, last season, we saw the LMP1s when they were still racing in this series fight all the way to the checkered flag for the win. And De Vries was one of them. Except De Vries last time wound up on his lid, so here's hoping he actually comes across the line and doesn't sit stranded on the pit straight as looking for weaving back and forth from Gerard to break the draft.
Oh no!
That was De Vries nearly running into the back of Jason Gerard. Has to take to the escape road. That's going to give him a slowdown penalty, and that might be the end of that battle.
I've been too busy flashing the lights.
Yeah, I think De Vries missed his... Yeah, they did make contact, guys.
Let's watch him on board. It's about 2 seconds back, so not quite as dire as I expected. He minimized the damage of that slowdown penalty.
Gerard almost lost it as well. I'm not sure. Maybe we want to take another look at this from Gerard's point of view. Let's look one more time, Director. Let's go on board with Gerard, because he almost put it in the wall.
We go watching from the O2. There's the contact.
But this pushes him over the curbs here, and then he comes across, he gathers it up.
Oh, I didn't catch that in all that. Maybe that's why Gerard didn't gain as much as we expected. It's still 1.5 seconds, and now they're dealing with a lot of traffic because that's Shane Hunter that our leader went by, as well as Joey Trungale that De Vries got past down into the bus stop.
Those prototypes don't like to go bouncing over curbs like that. That's
Usually.
Yeah.
And at 2 minutes a lap, there's not too many laps left. I think we're about 7 to go.
And this is when it gets interesting for those GTD cars as well. We'll see whether or not any of them can go the full distance. But as we watch this battle, just keep an eye out on the pylon to see whether or not any of these guys decide to pit in the GTDs.
All right, McGarvey's coming in, pitting from the lead in the GTLMs. He has a 57-second lead over Ryan Huff. Now, Huff was 1:01 behind Paquin, and he blew Paquin out. But Paquin had a longer stop. We think McGarvey's going to have a shorter stop here. So I don't know if Ryan's going to be able to get there.
Paquin looks like he's dropped off entirely as well. He was about a second behind when they came back to the track together. Oh, as Huff almost gets hit actually by Wilson just as we go to McGarvey here.
That's where Mark Wilson has no idea right now what's going in between the ears of Ryan Huff. But Huff is racing as hard as he can. To Mark Wilson, he's saying, come on, just let me by.
But some numbers for you. Paquin down to 4.3 seconds behind Huff. So he certainly is a little slow at the end of the race. and not looking like he'll be able to challenge for the lead. So it might be
in
down between the 18 and the 41.
Huff is through the bus stop. McGarvey is in his stall right now.
Huff stationary for 7.9 seconds. McGarvey, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it's a long one.
Huff is around
Huff
the
is
source.
Down past the classic pits, and McGarvey's going. He's past the cones. Huff is up through Eau Rouge as McGarvey just gets up to the top. But very similar to what we saw before, speed being on the side of the Ford. He gets back up into the front.
But just barely, guys. Goodness, we had an incident in the GTDs. Martin Roy and Jared Eaton both sent each other off coming into the chicane.
Let's take a look at this one. And you know what? This started in Blanchimont. There you see right there. That's Eaton starting to lose it. And then Martin Roy, you're going to see him try to take avoiding action. And then, what in the world? What did Shane Hunter do?
Shane Hunter, I think he went into France to avoid the crash. You might want to get an onboard camera with Hunter.
Yeah, there was we saw him go by at the last second there.
Yeah.
On board.
Hunter's going to stumble upon this wreck, and he decides, does he get target fixation here? Here he comes across this wreck. He's gone a little bit wide. He sees the smoke. He doesn't know where to go. So he goes into the grass and just drives straight.
Yeah, I mean, it is dark out, and so it's very difficult for him to tell which direction cars are pointing, especially when there's smoke out there. Shane Hunter does wind up in 5th out of that. Roy moves down to 6, but Eaton, I think, Eaton had to come into the pits due to the damage.
And guys, while we're talking about the GTDs, I just want to say that Kevin Santana has given up his challenge. He is a full 10 seconds behind Mike Major. Unless he's saving fuel and he knows Mike can't make it all the way to the end, that's the end of Santana's championship run.
How many of these drivers in the GTD class can make it to the end? That's the big question we've been asking. But before we get to that answer, the battle for the lead and the GTL Lems has closed down to within half a second. While Paquin dropped off, McGarvey has charged forward.
This prototype coming through is Dean Moll. I don't think it'll be a problem, as Moll should get them both before they get up to...
He gets one at least. He's got the speed to get past Huff, down into the braking, and indeed, he's not going to hold them up. Oh, but he's going to go off in front of them, and that could hold them up. In fact, he's into the wall. Dean Moll with a hard hit. This was a relatively uneventful first part of the race in terms of wrecks, and now suddenly the darkness seems to have upped the challenge.
One of the things that you tell your teams whenever you go do an endurance race is practice in the dark, and that's because the track seems to come at you faster whenever you're racing in the darkness. So it's one of those things that if you're not used to driving around here at night, it can really kick you off guard.
The battle for the prototype lead is closed down to within half a second. De Vries and Girard. They've got 8 minutes to sort this out. Girard's already won the championship. De Vries only over here for one race. Coming up on some traffic in front of themselves as well. Chris Sherburne.
Oh, he gets them.
Oh, and that's going to be the opportunity that De Vries needs. It slows up Girard, and De Vries is through. Looks for the over-under, but nothing doing for Jason Girard. How quickly does he attack back? He should get the slipstream on the run down to the bus stop through Blanchimont.
Also, how much damage does he have, Joe?
Did he actually manage to make contact?
Oh, yeah.
So let's take a look at the replay to get a closer look at this one.
Comes in here and just really gives a pretty good shot.
And to his credit, he probably thought Sherburne was going to stick with the racing line, and it looks like Sherburne tried to stay off to the side on the exit to let them through.
This is just one of those lessons of multi-class racing. You want to just run your line if you're the slower car, because the faster cars are expecting you to run your line, and so they're going to go where they know you aren't going to be, and if you end up there, then that's where contact happens.
Watching the speed difference between the two cars, because Gerard's not quite close enough to get much of a draft up here. He's at 174. Oh, he's down on speed. That damage is hurting him. He's a couple of miles an hour slower in a straight line. Wow, Jason DeVries coming in on a lone race here in the prototypes, and he might be able to run away with a lights to flag victory, even though he wasn't up at the front for the whole way. And the GTLMs, Stephen McGarvey still close behind Huff. They continue to drop John Paquin. It is about 5.3 seconds back. They are free to race if they can get by the traffic. We've already seen it affect the prototypes. This is Kevin Santana in front of them.
So as we look at this battle, did Santana, did he make a stop, or is he just off pace trying to not have to stop again?
I think he's just trying to save time, save fuel. So he's just off pace trying to save fuel, and I'm pretty sure
Major's pitted.
Oh, this is interesting. Major has pitted again, but Major's still safe points-wise, so yeah, Major would have to drop a couple more positions. He'd have to have an accident. But Kevin Santana's in a position where if Mike Major gets in enough trouble and DNFs at this point, he would still win, I believe, because Jared Eaton is in the pits with damage, and that would make Mike Major P9.
Well, it's ninth or worse that would hand it to him. Actually, no, he got a bonus point, didn't he, for pole? No, it was Slavonic.
Slavonic got that, yeah.
Yeah, so ninth place would be the championship going to Santana. He has to finish 8th or better to win, does Major.
Nice bringing this home.
Here's the other question, though. Slavonic hasn't stopped either. If Slavonic runs out of fuel, Santana could find himself slotting into first if he makes it to the end. Granted, he is a long ways back. It's about 25 seconds difference.
Yeah, and Mike is over a minute behind Slavonic, so if Slavonic pits, Mike Major's not going to pass him for the lead. Right. So if Santana is saving fuel, then he would inherit the lead, and that would put Mike Major under pressure if he falls back any farther than he is.
But Santana did. He's out in front of Kudrowski and out in front of Majors, right? So, nurse it, Kevin.
We've got 4 minutes left on the clock, so not many laps left for them to do. Really, it's going to depend on when the leaders come by as well, which they can't really know from inside the car.
In the darkness, we have a little eclipse happening here where the two leaders are getting together. Huff and DeVries are going to be passing each other.
Slavonic is in. Slavonic heads to the pits to take a second stop. If Santana stays out, he will inherit the lead.
Mike Major's still
twist.
Mike Major is still safe at this point unless he has to pit as well. And then at that point, well, he's already taken a second pit stop, so he's good to go to the end. So Santana has to hope that like a lightning bolt comes down and strikes Mike Major off course and that he wrecks, because at that point, he would win the race.
Slavonic just going around the fast food ordering right now. I'm not sure if Santana's going to get there or not.
Well, Santana's just come in around the bus stop.
Yes, Joe, you're right.
And he keeps going. So he feels he has fuel to at least go around this one more time.
And he should get Slavonic. Slavonic's stop will be really short, but
then the question is, guys, can Slavonic gain the time back up, because he's going to be able to go full song? Well, we've seen that Kevin Santana is saving fuel.
Santana goes by now as Slavonic's still stationary. Now he goes. 6-second stop for him. Compare that to about 8.9 from Mike Major. So very quick one for Slavonic. Once Slavonic is out and moving, he's got a long ways to catch up to Santana, though.
This is the point that Adam made way back at the beginning of the broadcast. If you can one-stop it, you can afford to be off pace because the pit stops are so incredibly long here.
And especially, guys, because we're going to come to white flag this next time around, I believe.
Now, something seems to have happened to Stephen McGarvey. Last lap, he had a slow one. No, I think...
Yep.
No, he had a slowdown penalty. He had a slowdown penalty in Eau Rouge, so don't need a replay of that, but that puts the nail in the coffin for him because Ryan Huff, unless he has major issues, is well clear now.
Ryan Huff looking for his first win of the season, and I don't want to venture, but I don't remember too many wins in the career of Ryan Huff.
I think he may have had some before. But we are going to get the white flag for Jason DeVries because he comes up to the bus stop. And it'll be 1 to go for Deep Freeze DeVries. Gerard's still chasing him. He's about 2 seconds back, but not threatening like he was before.
You got to wonder if Jason is questioning his car choice for Season 8. He's been getting beat by Young and McGarvey down there in the GTLMs. He comes over here with the prototypes and beats Jason Gerard.
That's going to be the next one across the line. And then who is going to be the one to take victory? That's still uncertain.
Oh,
Santana is not going to be it because he's heading into the pits. He couldn't make it. 1 lap shy. He is going to be kicking himself.
Guys, he was trying so hard. He's out of fuel. He's running on fumes. He's probably not going to make it to his pit stall, guys. What a way to end this championship. Unbelievable disappointment for Kevin Santana.
When it's 4th and long, Bill, you got to throw a Hail Mary, but it doesn't always meet its target.
That was great, though. That was a good run from Santana. Nothing worse than running out of gas, though, when you're in the fast food line.
Major, who now gets promoted into 3rd, is going to snag another podium now that he has passed Santana, and Santana had to take a tow. He couldn't roll into his stall.
And this will be Slavonic's 4th win in 5 races, is it?
Yeah. Future champion in the making, perhaps? As we check on Jason DeVries. He beat the current champion here in the prototypes, Jason Gerard. DeVries doesn't care about any of that. He just cares about having a good race here, managing to take a victory, which is coming in just a few hundred yards as he flies out of Blanchimont and into the bus stop. The checkered flag waves in the darkness for Deep Freeze DeVries to win here in the final round. It's like Ryan Huff was caught a little bit by McGarvey. It's down to 2.5 seconds between them. Stephen McGarvey is going to be kicking himself for having that off track and getting the slowdown penalty. Could have cost himself a chance. Ryan Huff wins in the GTLMs. And of course, let's not forget about Stephen McGarvey, who is our champion, even before this round, taking 2nd. But Paul Slavonic, win number 4 out of 5 races in the last 5 of the season. This Audi is looking very good today, despite being a handful for some other drivers. Paul has finally sussed this thing out and wins here in Belgium.
What an impressive drive from him. He managed his field just right, and everyone had to 2-stop, except for possibly Martin Roy, who we'll take a look at later, but I believe his stop just didn't count on our scoring. But an impressive finish for Paul Slavonic, and what a way to finish off the year.
And Mike Major comes across the line in 3rd, and that'll be enough for him to win the AM Championship.
Well done to the number 2 in those GTD cars. That's going to be the last of our field across. So we're going to take a break here. We're not going to go to sleep, though, even though it's dark out, because we have a post-race show to do. Coming up will be the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. If you stick around on screen, you can see all the upcoming races here on the GSRC. Welcome back to Spa-Francorchamps. You can see the night still here, but of course we have a race over and we've got stuff to talk about, a championship to dissect, and a race to go over, with the results being Jason DeVries, our winner in the prototypes. Gerard was beat there, and unfortunately traffic had a role in it. Damage towards the end put him down on top speed, and he was only 2 seconds behind. Could have been so much closer. Josh Wolf with another podium for him, starting 7th and finishing 3rd. I think this one a little bit less dramatic than what we had last round. Leif Peterson with a nice 4th place. And of course, Mark Wilson taking a top 5, last car on the lead lap. Dean Mole managed to finish, but was a lap down in 6th. Bill?
In a classic case of the early peel, late reveal, Ryan Huff took his short pit stop right in the middle of the race, fell way back. When he came out, he got around John Paquin, got around Stephen McGarvey, and he gets the win. Stephen McGarvey is the champion. He'll finish 2nd. Welcome back to the series, John Paquin. He gets a 3rd. Now, Joey Trungill wasn't really in the mix. He finished 4th, and well down the order, we'll see a little bit later, Olivier Tacot had problems. He's 5th in class.
Yep, then we have Paul Slavonic winning in the GTDs again. That's his 4th win in 5 races. An impressive season finishing for him. Mark Kadrowski comes home in 2nd. A really good drive from him, considering he only finished about 10 seconds behind Paul Slavonic. Mike Major doing what he had to do to wrap up that season championship, coming home in 3rd, but 1st place in the GTDs in points. Shane Hunter's going to come home in 4th, with Eric Intilli in 5th position. Kevin Santana saved just enough fuel to crawl across the line after the race was wrapping up, so he finishes ahead of Martin Roy, and then Sean Reese and Chris Sherburne will finish out your GTD finishers tonight.
And you get to the DNFs for the day. Billy Smith, unfortunately, Ending things down in 20th, and it's Jared Eaton behind him. Olivier Turcotte with a dramatic crash late in the race. Gerard Gilbert finishing 23rd. Kanchan in 24th. Tyler Gilmet behind them. Lionel Duprat, then Matt Owens, and Sheldon Rosenbaum. Gracia and Henderson did not start today. We have our winner in the prototypes ready to talk to us. It is Diet Freeze de Vries with us in the booth. Jason, you hopped over to a different class in the final round. I'm guessing just for some fun, and it looks like you found some fun up front.
Oh God, it was a blast. I tell you what, it's good to be back. It was a pretty large absence for me, much longer than I wanted to. It was just an absolute blast to share the track with everyone out there. I had a ton of fun.
It looked like some fun, but this one went into the dark. Have you done much of night racing here at Spa before? Do you have experience here doing that?
I wouldn't call it good experience. I usually end up in a tire barrier, so I was glad the race ended when it did because I can't really see anything out there.
Yeah, it gets pretty dark out there. We were wondering, with your performance, though, are you considering maybe moving over to the prototypes permanently next season? Because coming in without much practice and snagging a win is a good sign.
I think at this point I'll just go wherever the car count is needed. I have a blast in both the classes, and there's just a lot of phenomenally talented drivers in both classes. So it really doesn't matter where I run as long as there's good battles on track. And we just got such a good group of people out there that it makes it a really true pleasure to share the track with.
Awesome stuff. Well, again, congratulations on the victory, and we look forward to seeing you next season.
Thanks, guys. Thanks a lot for what was it, 7 seasons now?
Yeah, 7 of them, and we've been there since, I believe, season 2. That was our winner, Jason de Vries, and the prototypes. And I believe up next, we've got Paul Slavonik, our winner, and the GTDs that Adam is ready to talk to.
Yeah, Paul, another solid win for you tonight. When you were getting into those closing laps and you saw Kevin Santana stay out ahead of you, did you think that he had saved enough fuel to win, or were you sure that he was going to have to pit again?
At first, it was more like, did he really seriously do that? Because I know he pitted with me, and I figured there was no way possible unless he was saving fuel, and I was super duper saving fuel. So I didn't think it was possible for him to do it, but he had a 12-second gap. I figured he may have just tried to chance it and then just take it really slow in the last lap. But when I saw him start to fall off, I figured he played his cards a little too close. But yeah, I was super worried when I saw him go by.
And Paul, that's 4 wins out of the last 5 races. When you're looking into next year, next season, are you thinking that you might be in for challenging for the championship next season?
Definitely. I mean, if I stay in GTD, I mean, I've been doing a lot of official races, and my iRating's been going up a little bit, so they may not let me run GTD again next year. But even so, if I don't win the championship, or I'm assuming that Mike got it, because I think he finished 3rd. Even so, it's a victory in itself for me. I proved to myself that I can get the job done. I had a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that really helped me turn a leaf in this series and in just sim racing in general, just taking a lot of stuff off my shoulders, and it really shows. So if I'm back next year, I think I may step up into one of the higher classes, and then just go for that. I think we'll have to wait and see what kind of if we have more people come in and everything, because not too many people are running the GTLMs, and the other obvious choice would be prototypes. So we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, definitely, Paul. We've heard a lot of amazing stories from the people here about how they've been using their personal lives for good gain as well. And also a really good finish of the season for you, coming home with another win, 4 out of the last 5. Is there anyone you want to thank tonight?
Well, I definitely have to thank my wife. I think I've said this before, but I'll never stop saying it. She's just my anchor. She really encourages me, and gets me set up for races, and gets the right food in me. So it was spaghetti and ice cream tonight. That was my magic food that got me all set for the race tonight and for the win. So I've got to thank her. She's my beacon in the dark of Spa. So thank you to my wife, Christina.
All right. Well, thanks for talking to us, Paul, and congrats again on the win. We hope that you come back next season.
Thank you, guys, and I look forward to racing with you guys again soon. Thank you so much.
All right, that was Paul Slavonic, and next up we have Mike Major talking to Soup Zahn.
If I knew a race setup was as easy as spaghetti and ice cream, I'd be better at this. Hey, we get to talk to Mike Major. We don't get to talk to Mike very much because he hasn't won yet, but he's the champion, so we got to talk to him. Congratulations on picking up that win.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Hey, early on in the race, I was worried about you. When you watch the rebroadcast back, and they say, Mike, stay out of trouble. You don't need to fight it with Santana. There was an incident, a moment when you're in a battle with Santana going into the bus stop, and I just saw you break early. Was that just thinking big picture, getting out of the way?
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much all season, I've tried to just run my own race. There's guys in this league that are way faster than me, but I just always try to be consistent, and the consistency paid off. This is really my first time running in a road league, first time making setups, so I had to learn from Daytona on how to be faster and keep up with these guys, because there's a lot of talent in this AM field. It's every week it's nuts to race against these guys.
Okay, well, if you missed the interview before you, it's spaghetti and ice cream is the race setup. At least that's what Slavonic uses from his wife. Hey, was there any thought of you all one-stopping this like Santana was going to try to?
Yeah, I thought about it. I looked at all my numbers, and I would have probably been 2 laps shy. Kevin saved a little bit longer. I mean, he really had nothing to lose going for it. He could have won the race if he saved that, but he ran out of fuel right with 1 lap to go. But that's what I was going to try, but I realized about 3 laps after I pitted that it wasn't going to be possible.
Great to talk to you on the interview. Congratulations on the championship. We'll see you next season.
Thanks, guys. Much appreciated.
Joe?
Up next, we have our third place finisher in the prototypes, Josh Wolf, ready to talk to us. And Josh, you managed to get on the podium again, and it looked like you finally got this thing worked out. The traffic and the interclass play certainly gave you a lot of hell early in the season.
Yeah, and I kind of made a switch about halfway through to the prototype, which I think definitely helped out a lot. Had a lot of good runs lined up, and just setup issues or whatever would cause some of those bad finishes. But definitely just kind of today was just kind of right around. I had a pretty good battle with Leaf there for a while, and yeah, it was definitely a lot of fun tonight.
And we just heard from Major that it was his first season doing a road series, and we know you from the oval side initially, but it seems you've become quite the accomplished road racer as well. I mean, do you consider yourself sort of a two-handed driver at this point, being able to switch to either one, or are you starting to find yourself favoring the twisty courses?
Well, I grew up 15 minutes from Watkins Glen, so I've kind of always been decent on the road. And late last year, I made the switch to join Torque Freak, and they're predominantly roads, so I've been definitely working more on the road. I still got that oval knowledge, just kind of switched over. I love the sports cars and doing a lot of road racing recently, so kind of made that transition more over towards that than oval. But like at the major series, I definitely can show up when there's oval going on and do pretty decently.
We've certainly seen that. Well, congratulations on a podium, and I'm jealous that you grew up so close to Watkins Glen, because I've got to visit, and it is gorgeous out there. Hopefully, we'll get to see you next season, sir.
Yes, I definitely plan on being back. Most likely in a prototype, as long as that's going to be on the table for the next season.
And that is Josh Wolf on the podium. Maybe one to watch out for now that he's got the car underneath him. One last interview, as it looks like we've got Adam talking to Mark Kudrowski with another podium on his hands as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's I'm just damn glad I'm back in my form. So.
Yeah, Mark, a really good finish from you, finishing only 10 seconds behind Paul Slavonic tonight. Were you expecting that kind of a good finish tonight, or was that more of a surprise from you as you continue to race?
Yeah, I was expecting a good, outcome, good race. Didn't know I would be, second, but just I expected to be in the top 5, and that it worked out.
So everyone did a 2-stop strategy this race, but what was your thinking going into the race? Did you think you might be able to do it on just 1 stop, or were you pretty settled on the 2-stop from the beginning?
Yeah, I prepared a lot for this race, actually, and I tried the 1 stop on either field mode 1 or 2 instead of 3, and it just wasn't fast enough to do a 1 stop.
Definitely. So looking at these last couple of races, you've been doing quite well and being quite consistently up at the front. Are you looking to challenge for a championship next season?
Well, at least do good for the next season, top 3, and we'll see go from there. But just want to cover, you did an interview with me, winning Phillip Island, which is great. But last time I didn't really cover, my injuries, pertaining to why I was so just damn glad that I got a first place, and just to spell it out for you, and short bit, it's like I was in a plane crash in 2010. So I crashed in Money Bean Field. I was a pilot. Nobody was with me. So going top to bottom, brain injury, brain bleed, left side partial paralysis, and I have a prosthetic on the left side as well. My right ankle's fused, so it's like, so all the stuff I have going against me, it's pretty good to be on the podium.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine just living with all that, much less trying to race with all that. I sweat enough as it is, and I'm fully able-bodied. So I mean, it's an impressive feat that you can get out here and race, and especially race and get up there and get podiums and wins, Mark. I mean, impressive race, man.
Yeah, I'm starting to get podiums, and it's like I said last time, it's without words. Just can't even describe how happy I am.
Awesome. Well, it was great talking to you, Mark, and we look forward to seeing you back next season.
Yeah, great. Thanks. Bye.
That was Mark Kudrowski, our second place finisher in the GTDs, Joe.
Hard not to be inspired by Mark and the way that he's dealt with what life has given him, and still managed to be successful here on the service and generally enjoy life. Love talking to him whenever we get the chance. But we're going to close up for the season here. And of course, we want to give a big thank you to the Autobahn series for bringing us back for another season of coverage. We are already in talks with them for next season, just nothing on paper quite yet, but it looks like we will continue. Also, a big thank you goes to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts that are listed on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today and all season. Bill, Adam, Sean, Dougie, and everybody who came and helped out with us this coverage of Season 7. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com, or you can check us out on social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. Don't forget, head on over to our YouTube page, and if you haven't subscribed yet, you'll know it because the subscribe button will be big and red. Click on that. You won't miss a moment here on the GSRC. We'll be back when we usually have our regular time of a Monday night at 9:15 p.m. Eastern. We'll try and keep you abreast as soon as that is confirmed. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. However, until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.